Hello and welcome to Cretaceous Cantina, where today we're having a look at the Mattel Jurassic World Battle Damage Lockwood Ultimate Battle Set. I acquired this set through a trade with a contact based in Mexico, and I was able to get two of them, one to keep in the box because the presentation here, as you can see, is awesome, and then one to open up and review for you guys here on Cretaceous Cantina. Unfortunately, this set is not available in the US. It is part of the Battle Damage assortment, which is exclusive to Walmart, but for whatever reason, they opted not to carry it in the US. Instead, it is available through Sam's Club in Mexico, and I believe I also heard it was available in Germany through a retailer there. But other than that, I don't think there is any way to purchase this set without going to eBay or without doing a trade if you can find somebody to trade with like I did. So we'll talk about the contents of the package as we get through the review, but just looking at it, like I said, the presentation here is awesome. I'm really liking the display ability of this set. I mean, you really don't even have to open it up if you don't want to, because with the backdrop, with the rain and the Northern California pine trees and the Triceratops skull on its base, you have a very diorama type presentation. And it's also not too dissimilar to what we see with the superposable Indoraptor as far as the rainy atmosphere goes. The rest of the packaging, as you can see, is quite similar to anything else in the Jurassic World line from 2018. You got two indicators that says you can try both of these items before you buy them because there's no window here. I thought it was going to have a window, but other than the Triceratops skull, it's just completely open. At the back, you get another look at the toys. It says activate battle damage for Velociraptor Blue, and then on the Indoraptor it says you have movie authentic posability. You can see the Triceratops skull there in the center, doesn't say anything about that. On the lower left, other items available in the battle damage line. Those are the $10 price point items. At the upper right, get Jurassic World Facts app. It says contains 2 dinosauros. Here's the very bottom of the box, and there is the UPC right there. That's the top. Like I said, it's completely open, so there's no window or anything there. There is the left side of the box, and there is the right. Alright, I'm going to spend a little bit of time and get this set unboxed. I'm sure some of you are eager to see in great detail what these toys are like. So let me get to that, and then we'll take a closer look at the Lockwood Ultimate Battle Set. Alright, now here are the contents out of the packaging. We have Velociraptor Blue, we have the Triceratops skull, and we have the Indoraptor. So let's go ahead and start off with Raptor Blue. And Raptor Blue is basically what we got before. There's really nothing different here between this Velociraptor Blue and the standard battle damage Velociraptor Blue that has been available for some time now in the Walmart exclusive battle damage assortment at the $10 price point. So same exact sculpt, even the paint looks to be exactly the same as we had with that other version of Blue. And I'll go ahead and bring it in just so that you can take a look at them side by side. This is the standalone release, this is the Lockwood release. And I mean, same figure really. I don't see any differences in terms of pattern or in terms of paint application. Obviously there's a difference in terms of the eye paint because the eye paint on the Lockwood Blue, at least on this one, is pretty bad. It almost looks like, yeah, like they just missed putting the people on there, basically. But yeah, I mean, same exact figure. There doesn't look to be anything obviously different one to the other. Battle damage and everything is going to be exactly the same on both of them. So yeah, it's nice. I still think that this is the absolute best battle damage blue that we've gotten, or the best blue rather, from the entire Fallen Kingdom line. It's got the best raptor sculpt. It's got the best paint. You do have the white stroke going around the blue pattern on her, and that is something that the other Raptor Blues lack. Either if it's the attack pack or the one that comes in the 2-pack with Owen and now in the Savage Strike line. So yeah, this is nice to see. It makes perfect sense that they would have stuck this figure in that set rather than tool up a brand new figure. So I'm okay with it, but like I said, the QC is just a little bit abysmal. And as far as the articulation and all that goes, it's a very nicely articulated figure. She does look down quite a bit. She looks up a good bit. That's actually pretty awesome. She can look side to side. Of course, you have that opening and closing jaw. It opens up quite a bit. Ball hinging at both of the shoulders. So it looks like she can be flying or she can be swimming or whatever you want her to be doing. Let's be realistic though. And then at the back, you can move those back and forth. And they kind of go out a little bit, which does help with posability. And as I noted, she does have the same battle damage as before. So that is pretty nice. And then we have the Indoraptor, which when you look at it, actually looks almost identical to the version that came packed by itself. And that's because it's basically the same figure. It has been retooled to incorporate the battle damage feature, but other than that, it's essentially the same. Still has a very nice sculpt, even though the head sculpt isn't quite as nice as the Grab and Growl Indoraptor, but it's still a good looking toy. And I should note that when you get this, you do have to install the second half of the tail in there because it does not come installed out of the box. Now, one thing I did notice when comparing this to the single packed superposable Indoraptor is that the material seems to be a little bit of lower quality, let's say, on the one that comes in the Lockwood set. When I grab it and look at it, it just feels to me like, I don't know, like there's more rubber or something going on with the limbs. They feel a little bit more flexible. There's a little bit more give to them. The joints almost seem a little bit more loose. But then when I grab the superposable Indoraptor, the joints are a lot stiffer. The plastic doesn't seem quite as waxy. It's a minor difference, but it is something I am detecting when comparing them one to the other. It just seems like, I don't know, the plastic has a little bit more give to it, a little more flexible, a little bit more bendy. Not a huge deal, but it is something that is notable. And again, pretty much the same exact thing one to the other. It is the same sculpt. The paint applications look very similar. I will say that the yellow stripe on the Lockwood version is a little bit more noticeable. It looks a little more vibrant. You can see that the orange dots just pop out a little bit more than they do in the standalone release, which it's a little bit more muted when you look at that. But everything else is quite similar. There's really not a whole lot else that's notable here. It does look like there is a unique, possibly a unique scan code here. So if you want to try scanning that, I'll go ahead and put that there, because the pattern does look a little bit different to my eye than on the standalone Indoraptor. As far as the articulation is concerned, it is the same as before, which means that it's really good. It is the same as the superposable Indoraptor, so it's superposable, it's super articulated. The top of the neck has a ball joint, so you can go down, you can go up, not a whole lot, but a little bit. You can rotate it. Bottom of the neck, same thing. You can rotate that around, look up a little bit, look down, side to side. You can open the jaw because it is articulated, and there is the inside of the mouth. Now, I did notice that the fleshy parts here at the back of the mouth were not seated into the little sockets properly, so I had to take the blunt part of some scissors and just kind of push them into place, and it seems like it closes better. It doesn't close completely, but pretty decently. And for the arms, you still have your ball joints here at both of the shoulders. So they go out, you can rotate them. Same thing at the elbows, and same thing at the wrists. So very posable there. At the hips, you can still pull those out and go forward and back. Here at the knees, you also have your ball hinges, so you can bend them out, bend them back. And then at the ankles as well. And then at the tail, insert molded joint there, so you can achieve a similar movement. It doesn't really rotate all the way. And then for the back half of the tail, where you plug it in, you can't really do a whole lot with that. Now, as far as the battle damage is concerned, I will say that it is very well concealed. Like, you almost don't even know that it's there unless you're looking for it. So I really like that, because if you're not a huge fan of battle damage, you can kind of ignore it with it closed. But if you want to see it, just push on it. It opens up, and you can see some tearing in the muscle. It looks pretty decent. If you've seen one battle damage, though, you've kind of seen them all, except for the Albertosaurus, which is just freaking amazing. But yeah, you close it, and it completely goes away. You barely see that battle damage door, and I really like that. All right, and that brings us to the Triceratops skull. Now, this is a unique piece to this set. It's the only way you can get it. And it looks pretty nice. It looks fairly accurate to the skull we see in the film. I don't think it's nearly as large as what we see in the film, but it does look decent. The base is like this reddish color. It doesn't really look as dark or as brown as it should. But all things considered, it doesn't look that bad. You can see that the bottom is basically just hollowed out, and there's a screw in there that holds the skull in place, or rather this part of the base that the skull rests on. And it doesn't really rotate. Like, if you try and rotate that, that's pretty much fixed. Same with this back part. You can kind of get a little bit of a rotation there, but not too much. And then the skull just kind of sits on top of it there. And you can see that it plugs in right there.
It seems like it kind of wants to come out a little bit, so you just kind of push it back in, but then it kind of pops back out a little easily. The skeleton itself, or the skull itself, has very nice bone coloration to it. It's very dark, kind of like a dark beige, and you can open the lower jaw of the Triceratops just a little bit. So that's pretty fun. Now, obviously, it doesn't look very anatomically correct to Triceratops. I'm not sure exactly if it is supposed to be Triceratops or if it's something else. I know that Jack Horner, who famous paleontologist who consults in the Jurassic film, said that it's a fakeosaurus, so basically it doesn't even exist. But it is nice. It is nice to get this accessory because it is key to the film. We'll go ahead and bring Owen in so you can see how he scales up next to that skull. Again, the skull isn't nearly as big as it was in the film, but at the very least, it is quite a bit bigger than Owen. All right, now here's a really cool thing about this Indoraptor and about this set. If you look at the bottom of the Indoraptor, there are 2 holes right there. There's a very specific reason that those 2 holes were included. Now you get your skull, and you can see that it has 2 horns. You're basically supposed to connect them together and reenact that very pivotal moment in Fallen Kingdom. And then once you get those horns aligned and into its body, this is the end result. And I think this is pretty fun. And just looking at it, it's kind of a shame that it didn't get a wider release because no doubt, I mean, this is just fun. One of the key things I always look for when I'm looking at toys, the fun factor, of course, especially with mass-produced toys like Mattel's Jurassic World toy line. And this is just fun from top to bottom. And even though the execution itself might be somewhat questionable, just because obviously the aesthetic here isn't exactly like it was in the film, not that you should expect it to be exactly as it was in the film. No doubt I can imagine quite a few kids might have enjoyed the playability that you have with something like this set and being able to put the Indoraptor getting impaled on the Triceratops like that, because that does look pretty cool. And I actually think I'm going to display it this way on the shelf. Now, I can't speak to how well this is going to hold up long term. Obviously, the Indoraptor is pretty heavy compared to the Triceratops. I assume to some extent Mattel would have accounted for the durability of the construction of the base, and then this spire that holds the skull in place, and then even the horns so that they don't warp too much. But, time will tell. But I do like this. I think it's pretty well put together, and it definitely helps you to recreate that scene from Fallen Kingdom. Now, of course, if you wanted to take it a step further, you could grab Blue and place her on top of the Indoraptor and kind of flesh out that scene a little bit more. And we could throw Owen in there too, saying, "Atta girl, Blue." All right, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. This is the Mattel Jurassic World Battle Damage Lockwood Battle Set. Overall, you guys, this is a pretty fun set. As I was saying, the playability factor here is pretty high, and being able to recreate that very pivotal moment from the end of Fallen Kingdom is pretty nice to be able to do, even though it doesn't come across exactly as it was in the film. The idea and the feel behind that scene is still here, and it's intact. The execution of the set is quite fun. I'm really glad that Mattel didn't just make this a battle damage Indoraptor, but also created those 2 cavities in its torso in order to recreate the impaling scene. That really elevates this set a little bit higher than if it were just a straight repack or just a retool with the battle damage feature. The Indoraptor itself is essentially the same as the superposable Indoraptor, so you can still achieve a lot of poses with it, which is pretty awesome. I also think the battle damage has been integrated very nicely into its body. When you have the little door closed, you don't really see it, which is pretty awesome. Velociraptor Blue doesn't really bring anything new to the table, but for this particular set, she was necessary, so I'm glad she is here. And of course, the Triceratops skull and base. I like the skull quite a bit. It's a little bit small. And the base, I think the color could be a little bit darker on it, just to give it a little bit more of that Lockwood Mansion aesthetic. But for the most part, it serves its purpose. In fact, all 3 items in this set are exactly what you need to recreate this moment from the film, so I'm pretty happy with it. Now, if you're an adult collector and you do want to add this to your collection, it is a little bit unfortunate how difficult it is to track down. The same is true with the Destructosaur sets. I think it makes a fantastic display piece. I don't think you necessarily need to remove it from the package, especially if you already have the superposable Indoraptor and the Battle Damage Blue, because they're basically the same thing. So if you have those figures already and you can be happy with what you have, really the only thing you're missing here, other than the Battle Damage feature on the Indoraptor, is a Triceratops skull. And I can't say that's worth $150 or $200 or however much these sets are going for on eBay these days.
Your best bet if you can swing it is to manage a trade as I did. If you can network, that'll save you some money on getting the set, because I do think it is a great piece to have in the collection, but I don't think it's an essential piece, especially when we have other items out there that offer a little bit more newness, like the Destructosaurs, or even things like the slime sets or the Lava Surge playset. So it's not my favorite item in the line, but I am happy to have it. And I think it's quite fun. And I'm definitely going to display it with the Indoraptor being impaled on the shelf because, like I said, that's just fun. Alright, my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If so, do give us a like, do subscribe. Let me know what you think of the Lockwood battle set down below. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for the latest news and updates. And as always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Cretaceous Cantina. Until next time, bye-bye.